This video is brought to you by the Dragon Slayer. Be sure to check out our website for additional articles, videos, and commentary.
Welcome back to Top 8 of our Modern Monday event. I'm Salty McFoggin along with Chris Carletto and Tom Pampalone. This is Game 1 with Diego Ruiz playing Splinter Twin in Living End versus Brian Karlsson and his blue-green Infect deck.
Great, so yeah, this Living End Splinter Twin deck, also known as Twinning End,
Hashtag.
hashtag Twinning End, is pretty interesting. Basically, it runs the same generic Living End combos, plays a Violent Outburst and that other one, the demonic one, where they can't block, and basically you cascade into your Living End combo. And fortunately, since he's playing the Splinter Twin combo, those also don't get hit by Cascade, so he's always going to hit Living End, I think, every time he casts a spell.
Yep.
And I guess Diego knew that he was playing that right off the bat because he's just went in there with the Stomping Grounds turn one.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the Infect deck. You just don't even care about your life. And as you can see him taking a shock damage from the land and also cycling a Street Wraith for, I think, 2 life?
Yeah.
So I'll drop Diego down to 16 and now 15 with his fetch.
So interesting enough, Brian didn't open up with any one-drops, either Noble Hierarch or the Infect Elf, but should be fine for now.
Yeah, hopefully he has the turn 2 Bladed Agent.
Bladed Agent, yeah, the unblockable one.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good against him. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like, pretty much once he gets to 3 lands, doesn't Diego just win?
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard for him to not beat him after that. But hey, Brian, how you doing?
Stylish.
Yeah.
So he's gonna go in a turn, get a Breeding Pool tapped, and go to untap with it.
Yeah.
And you can see the Violent Outburst in his hand as well.
Yeah.
The weird thing about it is, it seems like it's such a weak combo, but in Modern, when you're bringing back, effectively erasing their board and bringing back 2 creatures that are like 2/3s and 4/3s, or even 4/5, some of them are pretty powerful.
So here we go with the turn 2 Blighted Agent.
And the turn we're cycling Caryatid.
Yep.
The old monstrous Caryatid guy.
Oh, okay.
And here we go.
And what land is that?
That's a Grove of the Burnwillows, and we're casting Violent Outburst here. So for those of you who don't know, this is Violent Outburst. It has Cascade. The Cascade ability allows him to reveal cards from the top of his library until he reveals a card with convert mana cost less than the casted card, which is Violent Outburst. Mana cost is 3, so the only thing he can target in his deck and hit is Living End. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's the combo.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, I don't know where it's at. I think Brian's just taking a good look and seeing, like, why is there Splinter Twin in this deck, and how do I beat it?
A little bit confused.
The Cascade cards go in the bottom, correct?
Yeah.
In any order, yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll see here, when this Living End resolves, it's going to take everything from the field, put it in the graveyard, and put everything from the graveyard back onto the battlefield.
Yep.
So these Caryatids are what, like 4 power, I think?
4 power, so he's going to get in for 12.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's like really good.
Yep.
Yeah, especially with the Bladed Agent, just getting that off the field is so important to the Infect deck. But
so that's pretty good.
Spellscape's good. It does a lot of blocking here, and he can also. I don't think he has any sort of removal spells. It's just go.deck, right?
Yeah, no. Diego doesn't really interact at all with the opponent.
Yeah.
There are, I guess, certain situations, maybe post-board, where he brings in stuff. I know he also made next Fulminator Mages, which is kind of nice about those, because it really can kill, like, Inkwalk
Yeah,
Nexus.
he can get Inkmoth.
And then he can reanimate it later and kill more stuff with it.
Yeah.
There, you see another Fulminator Mage.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually an attack for 10. Or, sorry, an attack for 11 here. The Caryatids are 4's power, and the Street Wraith is 3, I believe. And he's going to be blocking, looks like, the Street Wraith, taking 8 damage. And we'll get a life check on you in 1 second here once we figure out the power on those creatures.
Yeah.
Not the most familiar ones that we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, this deck is... I don't want to say it's new, but it's definitely...
More obscure.
Wild.
It's one of the
It is very wild.
But it's very cool. I kind of like the idea. So Street Wraith is a 3/4, so he's at least getting in for 3 there, and then the... I'll get a check on the other ones there for a second. Hang on.
The old monstrous Caryatid. So I think in that as an optimal block... Before we get to blocks here... There's a Street Wraith cycling again there.
So 2, right?
Yep. It's another 2 life there off Diego. And I mean, he doesn't really care. The nice, interesting thing about this, I mean, I don't know what Diego's reservations are. I mean, it is possible. He can't obviously resolve this combo with Splinter Twin out. But what he can do is kind of just beat down for a bit, and he has to kind of rely on Brian to just block efficiently.
Yeah.
That's really all Brian can do at this point. He can pump his own creatures, but it is a waste for him to waste pump spells just to defend.
Yeah, I mean, he really needs to really just pump out some he needs a mutagenic growth and a Vines of Astwood to effectively get in for at least like 6.
Mm-hmm.
But and now he's going in full combat mode. I mean, why not?
Yeah, looks like he's getting in with those cards there for 4, 8, Street Wave for 3, and a full mana range of 2. And we'll see what Brian wants to do about this. I mean, this is essentially lethal. As far as we know, we have Brian at 12 here. And he blocks a Street Wraith and a full Mirror Mage, and we see a pump of a mutagenic growth, paying mana instead of 2 life. I mean, I really can't afford it because he's already taken 8 from those cards.
So looks like he is.
He's going in for the blocks and his mutagenic growthing his Bladed Agent. So he's at least going to deal with the Fulminator Mage and keep his Bladed Agent alive, which is really important.
Well, and he sacked the Fulminator Mage to destroy the Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, that's...
So effectively, basically ruining Brian's
at
life.
least Brian's field presence right now. But he does have Apostle's Blessing in hand, so he can at least dodge one thing.
And that's the game anyway. I mean, there's no way you can come back from that.
Brian was really far behind on that one. So Diego's going to take game 1 here. And we're going to enter sideboard mode now.
So yeah, let's see what we have for the sideboard. Looks like Diego's looking at some Ricochet Chaps, Crossing Grips, Liliana's. I think Liliana's probably really good here, right?
Liliana with the sack and discard is just really good.
He's looking at, I guess, some Murderous Cuts. If I were him, I would bring in the extra Fulminator Mage too, because that late game Inkmoth Nexus is probably the best card in the deck.
Yeah. It's just flying. He look from at least the looks on his deck, he has no flying. So right. I mean, like Inkmoth just gets in for the game.
I'm assuming. Let's see. It's interesting because I feel like taking out the spell skates for Brian is. I mean, Diego literally has no interaction.
Right. I would have to agree with that.
And I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be bringing in the Obstinate Balance because Living End trigger. Hopefully, he just discards it somehow.
Yeah.
What's interesting is it looks like Brian's looking to fit some number of Dispel into his deck, and I'm not sure if he's aware none of the Cascade cards are instants. I think one of them is, but that's irrelevant because the Cascade triggers a Living End, which is a sorcery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I think he might just be misboarding here.
Yeah, it could be possible. Is the Cascade spell an instant? No.
Living End is a sorcery.
No.
The Cascade.
One of them is the demonic one where they can't target creature can't block or whatever. That's a sorcery. Violent Outburst that gives your creatures +1/+0. So that's an instant.
So maybe he's just looking at that.
Yeah.
But he's still gonna, he's not gonna be able to do anything against the Cascade effect, which is
no, not at all. And this is just a situation where I don't think Brian really has anything prepared. Maybe he's playing Relic or Tormod's Crypt. We don't really know, or Surgical Extraction.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best card for Brian would be Spell Pierce here, right? Because if Diego taps out on 3 to Cascade into Living End, he can always Spell Pierce to Living End.
Yeah, that's really good against him. So.
Both of these decks too, they really just can have some just nuts turn 3s where essentially, like we saw with Diego, he's really far ahead where it's close to impossible without exactly the right cards to get ahead.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't really know. Again, both decks don't interact with one another at all. The nice thing that Diego has an advantage is he doesn't have to target Brian's creatures. He can just swap them and throw them in the graveyard with Living End. So that's kind of nice. It kind of blanks all of Brian's protection spells and hexproof spells. But we'll see. I mean, Brian's kind of fiddling around there. I don't know if he's...
I think he's just a little having some trouble trying to figure out how to sideboard against this because this is obviously, like we said, a rogue deck, and it's kind of he doesn't really have too many answers to it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully he doesn't bring in those dispels. It looks like he's looking to, though. But...
Yeah, I think he's putting them in his deck right now.
Well, we'll see. Looks like...
see some Apostles' Blessings.
Keeping the Apostles' Blessings.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, with the Living End, you can't really do anything about it, but at least when you're going for blocks or getting in with the Infect, it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Looks like he's considering... He has Ground Spells, Rancors, and Sleight of Hand, and he's not sure what he's doing with any of them.
Yeah, I mean...
Looks like they're all going in.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Some
the
of
pump
them.
spells are just really important. Like if you can slam that turn 1 bladed agent, or not bladed agent, the elf.
Glistener elf.
Glistener elves, thank you. If you slam that turn 1 and then turn 2, you just get in. Like you can just beat him to the game on that.
Yeah, that's probably the most effective one. I really have no clue, and I don't think Brian does either. Obstinate Baloth is probably a good one. It blocks really well against the Carabid.
Yeah,
and it blocks against Street Wraith.
And it fogs for the turn or whatever at least.
Yeah, and does gain him some life, so that's nice. But we'll see here. Brian's really in the tank, it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I understand. He's in a tough situation right now.
Yep.
It's hard.
Especially because I believe this is his first Modern event since coming back from school. So when he's making top 8, sort of breezing through it and then sort of hitting this wall of just an extremely powerful deck that he can't interact with at all, it's got to be a little flustering.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's tough for any player, really, when you run into these rogue decks. It's kind of tough sometimes when you just have no idea how to interact with them, especially when they have no interaction with you, and your sideboard is against, like, other tier decks, and this just kind of shows up out of nowhere.
That's true. Like, I remember I played against a Mono Black Rack, or the 8-rack deck.
Yeah.
And, like, in a top 8 at Modern, I was playing Splinter Twin, and I just don't have anything for that sideboard. Like, Counter Magic's, like, okay, but, like, I can't really interact with it, and that's just a horrible matchup for me. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, that's what we're talking about rogue decks here. I mean, basically the best Brian can do is just pump out a ton of damage as quickly as possible. And
he wants that like absolutely nuts hand, like Chris was saying. I think that's pretty much not the only way to do it. He just flashed the Liliana there, unfortunately, but. So we know that's going in.
Diego's just throwing cards all over the place.
No, he doesn't care where they go. He'll bring them back.
Yeah, whatever. Living in gets there all the time. Even gets Planeswalkers, obviously.
I think what's interesting is Brian can probably even open up with a Noble Hierarch hand into a Blighted Agent.
That's pretty good.
And then
turn 3 kill.
Turn 3 kill. And that'll give him, 4 mana effectively with a 3rd land and Noble Hierarch. Yeah. He can Vines, Groundswell, Mutagenic Growth, and just win.
Yeah, and even if do they still play the Miracle card in the deck? Where the +6/+6 Miracle?
No. Not that one. It's playing Become Immense, which is that Delve.
Oh, okay.
That's the one you're thinking of, actually. Yeah.
Well, no, I was thinking of the Miracle card.
Of the Hunted.
Oh,
Revenge of the Hunted.
No, none of that. Yeah. That would be ridiculous.
I forgot about the Delve spell. Yeah, that's also very good.
Yeah, I think it plays 3 or 4 now. I think some lists are playing up to 4. Yeah,
4 seems aggressive. I mean, I know you got the fetches, and
I think the argument is you just want to see. All you need to see is 1, and you need to cast it. And you just want to make sure you can consistently see 1.
Yeah, that's fair. Because like when you go on the turn 3 or whatever, and if you go fetch, and then you go pump, then you're basically there already. It doesn't really matter.
It's very, very fast card. It's very, very powerful.
All right, so it looks like in Brian's hand. I had a tough time seeing some of the cards.
It's a Distortion Strike, Ink Moth Nexus.
Yeah, I see the Ink Moth.
Vines of Vastwood Forest. And I don't know. And Diego's hand is irrelevant because he just mulliganed. Probably not what he wanted. Maybe just not enough cycle to get going.
Well, he probably knew that the deck that he's playing against is really fast, and just probably seeing that he can't really take a risk with an okay hand. He needs the best hand.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell that top. Is that an Ichor Mirror? Right, that artifact.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that is an Ichor Mirror.
That's
an interesting.
Interesting. I don't know. Does it normally run that? I think so. Probably. I would trust Brian to be playing a tier list.
Bad.
Yeah.
I assume Brian's probably a very standard list.
I mean, you want probably 12 infect creatures outside of Ink Moth, and that's probably fine.
Yeah,
as long as you see at least 1 or 2 of them, you're good to go.
The Become Immense doesn't give trample, does it?
No. But generally speaking, a Distortion Strike.
It does have the Rancor, so when it's blocked,
it's either that or you're having Bladed Agent anyways.
Yeah,
it's like Bladed Agent or Ink Moth, so it's like
everything
it doesn't
is
even matter.
Evasive. Yeah. Also, he is playing Distortion Strike in the deck, so it's unblockable.
It's pretty good.
It's absolutely wild. The deck's a lot of fun too.
Yeah. So we're going to go with the Breeding Pool tap. That's not good because we wanted that aggressive turn 1, but we'll see if we can grab the Bladed Agent turn 2, which I'm assuming, oops, dropped our card there, might be Ichor Mirror and or Bladed Agent.
Oh, so that's good. At least he plays this Inkmoth Nexus now. So.
Yeah.
And Diego's going to take a read there.
Oh, what's that?
Probably pretty relevant for him.
Yeah.
There you go, cycle
in a turn.
He does have a Shriek Maw in hand, which is pretty good.
Maw, that's interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
it does shoot down creatures on the post living end.
so Diego's going to shock himself there with an Overgrown Tomb and Shriek Maw that Ichor Claw Mirror.
Yep.
So that's nice because the Shriek Maw is not a terror, it's just a Doomblade. So
Yeah, it's just gets there.
probably the best way to slow down Brian's hand.
But at least Brian still has the Ink Moth Nexus, which is pretty important. So he's going to animate, and then obviously,
I think this is going to be significant here.
yeah, Distortion Strike.
So we're going to bring that up to 2 Infect and get in there. That's the nice thing about Distortion Strike. It
Yeah.
does pump it a little bit.
So it's going to come back.
It's got rebound as well. It's very, very good.
So that's going to force Brian next turn, if Ink Moss isn't destroyed by a Fulminator Mage, if Brian has one, or Diego has one. I'm not sure. I didn't see it in his hand.
It doesn't look like he has too much action right now. He can cast Fulminator Mage here, which he does have.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, see, if I'm Diego here, I already see that as a misplay. What I would do is just sack the Fulminator Mage immediately and kill the Ink Moth Nexus.
Yeah.
So now what Brian has the opportunity to do here is tap his mana and cast Vines for Hexproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that does nothing. So I think that's just a
Yeah.
misplay on his part. So this looks like it's getting in for...
At least.
Oh, wow. Oh, this was all during
3,
upkeep. That
4.
was...
So that was 4. He's going to have at least 4
okay.
Infect. So he's going to go... Diego's going to go to 6 Infect now.
Mm.
Yeah, like you said, that was a misplay. You really needed to just get that out of there because the deck has so much evasion. You can't take that chance.
That was interesting on Brian's part, too. He had to animate his Ink Moth during upkeep, so
Yeah.
it would hit the rebound trigger.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about that too much.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Yep.
Right.
So we're just going to go for another cycle here. I didn't see
There's
if
a shock from Diego with a Blood Crypt there.
Looks like we may or may not have it. No?
We're working on it here. Definitely working on it. I know he has Living End in hand plus Murderous Cut. Now, I don't know
He
what
probably
additional
wants to
stuff.
wait till end of turn to do anything because, I mean, he doesn't know what Brian has, but
This is probably going to be a pretty explosive turn for Brian. He has a ton of mana.
yeah.
He also has a Vines that he can kick, and it looks like Serum Visions.
That's interesting. So we're going to draw Scry into a forest and
Looks like
whatever it is, it's important.
probably
So,
some spell, yeah.
I'm going to put that at the bottom. So yeah, whenever this deck has more than 3 mana, it's definitely scary because you have the potential of doing like way over 10 Infect.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now
we're
we're going to probably see here, 4 plus another 5 here on the kicker, so 5
Yeah.
total.
Yeah, this could be game if Diego
Oh.
doesn't do anything.
And there you have
It's
it.
become immense.
Let's see what he
He's going
does
for the
here.
murderous cut.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3,
Kind of has to
4.
at this point.
So I think this was probably very aggressive on Brian's part.
Yeah.
What I've seen from the Infect decks, they don't mind chipping away a little bit here and there.
Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, that was a little bit too much of a high risk, high reward, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, he would have won, but now he has no gas in hand and just dead.
And I believe he also wrongfully exiled the Become Immense.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, it does look like that.
That's all right. I mean,
I mean, it could be
the
relative.
graveyard effect doesn't really matter for Brian, but it does. There is, if he draws
Well,
another Become Immense, it could be
yeah.
important.
Right.
But
So you see a cycle of Architects of Will.
Yeah.
Again, just more cyclers here. All the abilities of these cards are irrelevant, pretty much.
And it's a shame that
Blood Crypt tapped.
he's got the Living End in his hand. I
Or
mean,
Blackleaf Cliff, sorry.
Yeah. Because,
Is that
now he's got the Twin, though, or the Deceiver at least.
Yeah, but he can't cast it, though. That's the problem.
Seeing
Yeah.
Visions.
So, I mean, he doesn't have blue to cast it. He also doesn't have the other piece of the combo. Diego's in, like, a really awkward spot. And this is kind of how you see from the deck for
So-
the most part.
Groundswell on Brian's side. It was on the bottom. I didn't see the top card, but obviously important.
Let's see here. That's
Relic
pretty
of
good.
Ruiz, That's extremely good
Yeah.
against Diego.
Relic is extremely good. So, my thoughts with Brian's animation the previous turn was maybe just to bait out any removal spell that he had whatsoever, so that the next creature he has, he can have it safe. Maybe.
That could be. I think Brian just really rushed his play there.
I still think just.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to back
No.
up Brian.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's fine. But I mean, that's how we learn.
Looks
So-
like Diego's out of options here at the moment.
I mean, they're
Well-
both. Oh, is that a?
This is neat, actually. So Diego, I think his far side is a Misty, so he can go get blue source here and flash in his Deceiver Exarch.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so he's going to make him exile 1. And Diego's, we'll see what he goes for. I assume it's blue source, just so he can cast Exarch here.
Yeah.
Probably Breeding Pool. But we'll see. And then, Brian's going to get a peek at his hand. I don't know what good that's going to do, but at least he'll get an idea where he's going.
Yeah.
He will also notice that the graveyard is not as important anymore because he has a piece of a combo. So
Yeah.
this is absolutely a wild deck. This is literally out of control. So okay, there he goes. He gets a peek at it with the Detaxian Probe. In response, he casts the Deceiver Exarch. I think he's just tapping down a land. I don't think it's even relevant at this point for him.
No.
So Diego's, the kind guy that he is leaving his hand revealed. No secret, really.
And no question mark. And that
Here it comes.
All right, so this is an interesting one. The nice thing is that Brian has no cards in his graveyard, and I believe this is where he's just forced to sack Relic. Now, that was an interesting one.
So
Vines
he
on the Exarch.
gives
Okay.
it Shroud until end of turn, I suppose, so that he can't.
Resolve the spell.
Yeah.
But the Cascade should still happen, right? If this is the card I'm thinking of. We'll get a check on that real quick. But he's going to pass to Diego. Unfortunately, no gas for Brian right now.
So no gas really on either side. It's it's sort of come to a slow halter now.
Yeah, I think basically all the card does is target creature can't block this turn, and it has Cascade.
Yep.
So
The Cascade still resolves, though.
yes, it did. I don't know why Diego didn't check
Diego
for
must
that.
have missed that. So he's going to flash in the second Exarch. Tapping or untapping.
I mean, regardless though, the
Tapping the green
Cascade
pool.
can resolve, but he's not forced to cast any spells, so it's not officially
Yeah.
a forced misplay.
That's true. Yeah.
Get
So
into
we're
beats.
getting in for 2. This is the first start of a very long haul from
Did that
Diego.
Exarch just come out? No.
No,
It's
that was
the
an
turn
Exarch.
after, yeah, because we just gassed into nothing. So now we've got an Ink Moth, which is good. See if Brian has any removal here.
He's just ticking that Infect up an additional 1.
Yep. So he's at 7 now. 7 Infect on Diego's side.
Well, that's interesting. It looks like
So
he's
he-
playing a lot safer this time.
Yeah, I see a Vine of Vastwood in Brian's hand, which is... Oh, there's a Liliana. It's going to put some pressure on now.
I think plussing that Liliana is going to do a good amount of damage to Brian's hand.
Yeah, I mean, all he had was land and Vines, I think.
Yeah, that's good.
So he just has the...
I think he actually has double vines in hand right now.
Oh, really? That's even worse.
But we'll see.
Yep.
So he goes
Yeah.
beating in for 2 again.
That is a pretty good bluff, though. I mean, not a bluff, but it is nice for Diego to think like, oh man, he discarded a Vines of Vastwood. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
So we drew into Apostle's
Sure.
Blessing. This could be it, because Vines of Vastwood could get in there.
Oh, it looks like the check actually has Brian at 5 Infect there on the counter. Or sorry, Diego at 5 Infect on the counter there. So he must have
Missed it?
added an additional 2.
Oh, okay.
So we have him at 5. Just kidding.
Is it 5 or 8?
5.
Oh no, yeah, because the 4's next to it.
Yep.
So
Oh, no, wait. 6. Evens. Yep. 6 Infect. Sorry about that. And here Diego gets in for another 2 there.
So he's going to cast... Or is he discarding or casting Apostle's Blessing? I think he's casting
I
it,
think
right?
that was a +2 discard.
Plus the discard?
Yeah, I don't think there's any relevance. You see him discarding the living end on Diego's side.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This is a pretty grindy game here. And there you go, casting
Casting.
the Carabid.
The cycling, yeah. Nice.
So this one's interesting. All it is a 4/4 that has to attack each turn, I believe, and that might just be good enough. I
I
don't know.
mean, it's fine, because
with no removal, that's got to be good enough.
no
Yep.
removal and... Oh, double Ink Moth.
That's pretty good.
Now it's going to put... I think there's
So
going to
now
be
with
more...
landfall, yep, that's exact.
That is a Vines kicked and dealing 5 Infect.
And that'll be game 2 going to Brian with Infect.